Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekly morning show where we bring you the latest in everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the Grayscale XRP. A decade ago now, as the SEC has come after them for being a security. But finally, after last year's ruling that XRP itself is not a security, but the way in which you sell XRP or any altcoin in particular can be a security. But in general, XRP and seemingly the rest of the altcoin space are not. After that ruling, we've seen a season of peace here for XRP, and now that season of peace has yielded fruit. Right now, what we are seeing is that XRP is going to be having a trust from Grayscale. Now, it does have to get approved, but it probably will, considering the SEC has had their entire argument handed to them on a silver platter by Judge Torres. And today, we're going to be discussing how this will impact the future of XRP. Following the announcement, XRP has already rallied by over 10% into overall cryptocurrency market. My name is Jeb. Welcome to the stream. If you're new here, we bring you daily technical analysis to help you understand where the market is going, not only so you can understand where the market is going, but also so that you can make informed decisions about how to act in the market so that you can best build wealth here in cryptocurrency. If you're excited, let's say it. Let's do it in chat, and let's dive right on into it. Let's jump on over to the news first. XRP is up 9% after the Grayscale XRP trust has been announced. And right now we are still seeing a pretty large rally happening on XRP along with several other altcoins. We're seeing a lot of bullish catalysts come into the space all at once. We've got the news coming out of the UK about a bill that is being put through Parliament of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency assets being registered as actual property, which is a massive development for the United Kingdom. Now, in the same week, we've got an announcement that Grayscale is going to be creating an XRP trust now that their Ethereum trust has been converted to a ETF and their Bitcoin trust has been converted to an ETF. So this is a big step in the direction of getting an ETF online for XRP, and that is why we are looking at such a major rally on our hands and why the next few months for XRP are probably going to be so serious. I just did an interview yesterday with Simon McLaughlin, the CEO of Uphold, and one of the things that you'll see him talking about in that interview when it comes out here in a week or so is that he, obviously being the chief executive officer of Uphold, knows a lot of the activity that goes on Ripple. They can see the network. They can see what institutions are working with Ripple and what institutions are working with XRP, and they can see the major amount of adoption that's been going on over the last 12 months ever since the case was settled, and of course since we started seeing these ETFs go online. The adoption and the usage of XRP and Ripple's other products are absolutely exploding, and so with an ETF coming, this is definitely boding very well for the near to medium-term future of XRP, and it also builds a case that the next ETF we may see could very well be an XRP ETF. I don't think that'll happen under Gary Gensler, as Gary Gensler was the one leading the charge. He kind of inherited that charge, but also then he took up the banner and started leading the charge on the attack on XRP as it being a security. So I'm not sure that his administration, his leadership of the SEC would ever lead to XRP becoming getting an ETF, but we know next year Gensler is not going to be the leader of the SEC anymore because Kamala Harris, who if she is elected, she is promised to appoint him to the Secretary of the Treasury, which I don't want Gary Gensler anywhere near any of the money going on, any of the financial management of the United States at all, but it does mean that he wouldn't be in charge of the SEC, and another one of the commissioner members would likely be elevated. I don't know that Kamala would appoint Hester Pierce. She probably wouldn't, but hopefully whoever Kamala would appoint if she did get elected would be more pro-cryptocurrency than Gensler, who obviously is the Joker to cryptocurrency's Batman. Now, if Trump gets elected, he has pretty much confirmed that he will be appointing Hester Pierce to the Securities and Exchange Commission, at least from what I understand, and if not, he would likely be appointing somebody to the SEC who is very pro-cryptocurrency, even if it's not Hester Pierce, although that is the obvious pick because she's already on the commission. She's very pro-crypto. She was appointed by Trump to the commission, so that's the obvious pick. If she were put into place, an XRP ETF would basically be a shoo-in. So an ETF for XRP following this news is very likely in the next 2 to 3 years, possibly much sooner than that, and so that leads us into the news of how XRP is doing. Naturally, XRP is up quite a bit on this announcement, and this is what the chart looks like. When this announcement came out yesterday, we saw a major green candlestick break out on XRP, and we ended up rallying almost 10%. Now, we settled into a flag here, but overall, this is a promising sign that there could be a big trend reversal going on XRP, especially because of the great degree of hopium that has entered the space around XRP. This is a good sign because let's kind of take a step back and look at it from the macro perspective here. One of the issues that Bitcoin and crypto has been facing is that twofold. It is one, that there has not been that much exuberance in the space. It's just been boring. There have not been that many bullish news stories coming out. And when they did come out, they ended up being bearish anyway. We were extremely excited about the Ethereum ETF launching. Well, the inflows to the other new magnificent 8, Ethereum ETFs that had been approved was completely overshadowed by the outflows from the Ethereum ETF. And I can show that data here so that it's easier to see. Let me pull this up right here. We had the good news that the Ethereum ETF was coming online. The progress that was made by BlackRock and by Fidelity was overshadowed by the loss that the Grayscale ETF was witnessing. So we still have a net cumulative outflow across all the Ethereum ETFs. So that was a big disappointment to the market. On top of that, we saw the halving come in right around here, and Bitcoin did not respond in a bullish manner to that in the slightest. We think that Bitcoin will in the long run, but in the short term, it has been a very, very bearish season for the market following the halving, which is to some degree normal. It's nothing of concern, but we also, on top of that, have the election coming up over here in November. And there's a lot of fear in the market right now about what the election is going to bring for the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space. There are people that are afraid of Trump and his policies. There are people that are afraid of Kamala and her policies. And that fear is not doing anything good for the market. And of course, here's another component of what's been keeping the market down. People are concerned about whether or not the Bureau of Labor Statistics is accurately reporting things like CPI or jobs data, because we had that revision down about 818,000 jobs last month, and so there's a great degree of lack of trust in all of those institutions. But here's the good news: that's last week's narrative. That's why we do this show every day. Everything I just said, and I meant to bring it here, everything I just said is last week's narrative, because things have actually started to change this week. Last week we were very bearish. As the week has gone on, we've had more hope because some things have started to shift. On the one hand, while everything that I just said is true and still remains to be true, what the market is starting to focus on now are things like that UK bill we saw yesterday, which led to a rally on Bitcoin. The market is focused on the fact that the stock market, S&P 500 this week, is rallying back up toward all-time high, and it looks like it has the momentum and the higher low to be able to break above that all-time high figure. The first time we hit 561 on S&P 500, we started from 494. It was a much longer run. The second time, we started from 510. This time, we're starting from 540. So we don't have as far that we need to run to actually hit the resistance, and so there's more momentum that Bitcoin is carrying with it. We are in an ascending triangle pattern, and we know that ascending triangle patterns typically break to the upside, so I expect a major breakout on stocks to come before very long has passed. And so that is exceptionally bullish on Bitcoin because we know Bitcoin tracks with the stock market. On top of that, as Pew Pew Poom 2 talked about in our stream chat yesterday, Bitcoin has been tracking very closely with Nvidia, which is why our chart has these green and red boxes on it. Yesterday, we compared Bitcoin to Nvidia, And what we found was that the red times here are the times where they were contraindicating. Nvidia was going down, Bitcoin was going up, or Nvidia was going down and Bitcoin was going up. The green times here represent the time that Bitcoin and Nvidia were tracking in the same direction. Maybe not to the same degree, but they were tracking, generally speaking, in the same direction. There's a great correlation between the two of them. So if we look at the Nvidia chart, it's going to give us a lot of indication about where Bitcoin's going next. I think partially because Nvidia is being driven by Bitcoin. I don't think it's necessarily so much that Nvidia is driving Bitcoin. I think it might be the other way around. But in the short term, what we're seeing here is Nvidia is in this major symmetrical triangle pattern, and whether it breaks up here, backtests, and then breaks bullish following that some kind of short-term corrective movement, or if it just breaks out bullish here in the next couple of weeks, in the next few days, whether it breaks out here in the next few days or in the next few weeks, whatever, we're likely to see a major breakout coming soon, and that would be very bullish for Bitcoin as well. On top of that, Bitcoin obviously has been in its own uptrend here for the last few days. And every day that passes, we are building more momentum. Over the last 24 hours, we now have confirmation that Bitcoin has built an inverse head and shoulders pattern. That inverse head and shoulders pattern would give us a price target. If we were to draw our shoulder line right here, it would give us a price target, generally speaking, about $63,000. So a lot of good news coming in to Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space right now, not just this Grayscale announcement. So again, my goal here is to detect, because I just threw a bunch of data at you, but I want to make sure that we are able to synthesize that into something useful, right? Our job here is to take the data, to take the facts, to take the news, to take the announcements, to take concrete, logical, rational thought, and put it together into an analysis that helps us to understand where the market is going next. And the reason for that is because if we have an understanding of what's going to happen next in the market, then we have an understanding of what we should be doing next in our trading and in our investment. And so what we are seeing right now is a great degree of shift on the technical side, but also primarily on the fundamental side, that seems to be pushing Bitcoin in the direction of being able to go into an uptrend. Whereas even over just the last few days, even just earlier this week, we did not have fundamental gas in our tank, such as this bill coming from the United Kingdom, or such as what we are seeing out of Grayscale with the XRP trust. And so with these announcements, we are very, very much looking at a reversal here in the sentiment. Now what we need to see happen is an actual confirmation from the price. The price has been generally creeping to the upside here on Bitcoin. Right now it does find itself in this rising wedge, so I want to see if it breaks bearish here. I am still very skeptical of Bitcoin because I need to see it actually confirm bullishness, and if it doesn't, then that is a concern. If it does confirm bullishness, then that's obviously where we get to start being much more excited about things. But similarly to what we talked about yesterday, right now, we are confirmed enough bullish that now might be a good time to deploy some cash for the long run, just in case this corrective movement is over. And we are currently looking at just higher highs coming in the near-term future. If you're going into a trade, it might not be time to enter into a bullish trade, into a long trade just yet, because there are some short-term concerning factors, such as this rising wedge that could cause us to drop to the downside, that could cause you to get stopped out. But if we rally up toward this down, this downtrend is constituted by our recent local highs here. If we break up to that downtrend, and then we break through it, then that may be a good opportunity for those traders out there listening to me to enter into a trade before we were to rally up to $65,000. It would look a little something like this. You'd have your long projection here. You'd exit the trade just shy of the resistance, just in case you don't quite touch it. And you would have a small stop loss at the beginning, followed by a tight trailing stop loss that you would update after the trade actually activated. I would not be entering a long trade yet, but I do think you're getting close to the point of being able to do some kind of long trade on some kind of long swing trade as Bitcoin swings back up here towards $65,000. As of yet, I still think we need more confirmation before we can be super confident that that's what's going to happen. That being said, we have built more confidence over the last 24 to 48 hours than and so that building confidence is what we are looking for. So I'm going to read a little bit of chat here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Sean O'Brien's in chat. Hardcore Killers is in chat. Jeremy Shorter's in chat. Ishmael is in chat. Saul Said, hey, finally made it to the beginning of the live. Shout out to you, Saul Arredondo. Mattis S is in chat. XLR8 Profits is in chat. John Doe's in chat. She also suggested Warren for the SEC chair. Yes, that would be Elizabeth Warren, chair of the SEC. What in the world does she... What business would Elizabeth Warren have being as the chair of the SEC? That I don't understand that pick. Justin says, Jebs, what do you think about XRP? I think XRP is growing a lot, and it's getting a lot more adoption now that the legal woes have subsided. My biggest concern with XRP was never that it didn't have good technology. My biggest concern with XRP was that companies were not going to want to interface with it because they didn't know whether it was legal. And while there was not an actual adjudication that it was a security, there was not actually a ruling that it was not to be touched. What still occurred was Brad Garlinghouse and the rest of the executive team moved most of Ripple for adoption of the technology. And on top of that, pretty much every single exchange except Uphold dropped it, which they didn't need to do because there had not been an adjudication that it was a security yet, but most of the world is looking at using XRP is looking at the industry XRP. And so when the exchanges started dropping Ripple, and when the exchanges started dropping XRP, and when Ripple moved most of their company overseas, that was not very good for marketing. And so, yes, they were vindicated, but it's taken time for XRP to rebuild some trust in the marketplace, mainly not from XRP's fault, but because of what the SEC was doing to XRP. Obviously, XRP was exonerated in the end, and that trust is being rebuilt. And as I talked about in an interview you're going to see coming up with Uphold CEO Simon McLaughlin, you're going to see him talk about how there are a great degree of companies and corporations that are starting to use XRP for its intended purpose, which is to help with cross-border and payments and interbank transfers, and basically to start becoming an alternative to SWIFT, which is our modern and globally adopted basically communications system for sending transactions and payments across borders. SWIFT has many rivals. XRP is just one of them, but XRP is naturally going to have a great degree of adoption because the main reason that it wasn't being adopted, which were these legal battles, have started to subside. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about XRP. Let's talk about its chart. Let's talk about where it could be going. My concern with XRP has been for a very long time its price. Its price just sucks. Its chart is awful. Do I like the project? Yes. Do I like the chart? Hell no. It looks terrible. It looks absolutely terrible. This is not the kind of market that I buy, ever, or very rarely. The kind of market I buy is the kind of market that does this. It has a general trend of moving to the upside over time. We see the same thing on Bitcoin. As time goes on, it builds, right? As time goes on, it grows. We get higher highs and higher lows. I invest in things like the stock market, the United States S&P 500. Would I ever put everything into the S&P 500? No, because the thing is backed by the United States dollar is fragile, in my opinion. That being said, there is a long-term provable track record of growth that greatly outpaces inflation. And so, do I invest in a market like that? Yes. Real estate, which I can't show you a very easy chart for that off the top of my head, but I want to invest, and we are investing in real estate. Real estate is an asset class that goes up in value, and it also cash flows, which allows that value appreciation and return on investment to happen even quicker. Those are the assets that I invest in, assets with provable track records, and I dump as much money as I can into them. So what I don't do is I don't invest in assets that are flatlined. But, and here's the but, and here's why that may be about to change for us with XRP. But, over the last year, since XRP had its ruling, XRP has done a lot of nothing. And the reason for that is not because XRP is a bad project. It's because, as I said, it's going to take time for the world to start to trust the regulatory landscape and the legal framework around it again. But that's happening. And we see evidence of that on the chain. And so when we see that happening, and we also see big announcements like Grayscale building an XRP trust, which in the short term was a big story on the weekly chart here. You can't even see it when we're out here in space. But when you see fundamental developments like this taking place, it does lead you to speculate that XRP is going to perform better than it has in previous years. Part of the issue that XRP has run into is that it's still at roughly the same price that it was at 7 years ago when I got into the cryptocurrency space. We need to see some movement of value from the actual usage of the cryptocurrency over to the actual market capitalization. It's been sitting at roughly the same market cap, between $15 and $30 billion market capitalization, for nearly a decade now. The question is whether that's going to change or not, and I think it can, but I would keep investment in XRP something that you start scaling into. I would encourage you from a wisdom standpoint, with principles that don't change, that are always the same, that you would continue to invest primarily in Bitcoin and Ethereum because they do have that longer term provable track record. Invest in things like the stock market, invest in things like real estate, invest in those things, invest in something like yourself through your own education. And then, yes, make your higher risk investments on top of that baseline, that foundational investment in assets with a proven track record. It's not that XRP cannot succeed. It's that XRP does not have the kind of proven track record that I want to see to be absolutely confident that it's a good investment for you to put your money in long term. That said, and again, this is where we're getting into speculation territory, I do think that XRP is growing, and I do think that there are wonderful signs going on in the fundamentals right now that encourage me that even though it should not be the biggest coin in the portfolio, it should not be anywhere near the largest portion of our net worth, it could be it could definitely be something that would add on to Bitcoin and Ethereum for the ultra long term, 5-10 years, with maybe 5% of our cryptocurrency portfolio, maybe 10% of our cryptocurrency portfolio, with the vast majority going into Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies that have a longer term proven track record. It's not that we shouldn't invest in XRP, it's just that we want to make sure that it stays in its place in our portfolio, which is not at the bottom, not at the top, but somewhere sitting there happily in the middle, because there are things changing that are obviously extremely bullish for XRP. Now, another thing we want to talk about is the technicals, right? So we've got an uptrending level of support here on the technicals. Now, I do want to point out this is a very, very, very shallow uptrending level of support. And this uptrending level of support has baseline touches back here going into the middle part of 2022, the last bear market. So this is over 2 years ago now. In those 2 years, XRP's bottoms have grown by 40%, which is great. You know, that's about 20% increase a year. But it's not the kind of parabolic growth that we want to see, that we could be seeing elsewhere, because 20% is fine, that's wonderful, but we've also seen Bitcoin, which is a much, much, much larger behemoth, rally by 200%. So there's an opportunity cost based on the historical analysis on XRP to investing in XRP when the money could have gone into Bitcoin and it would have performed better. That being said, again, the future is not going to necessarily be colored the exact same way that the past was on XRP, and so that could grow much faster. And there is an argument to be made that XRP's market capitalization is much easier to move because it's smaller than Bitcoin's, and so you could see it outpace Bitcoin in the coming couple of years because of its adoption. Because $30 billion market cap is much easier to move than 1.1 trillion. So what we have to do here is we have to not get dogmatic. The temptation is to get dogmatic and say, my coin is incredible, my coin is perfect, my coin can do no wrong, this is my coin, and we get very defensive about it. I'm not trying to attack you, and you shouldn't get defensive about your projects. All we need to do is we need to follow the facts. The facts, Jack, nothing but the facts, right? We need to follow the facts. The facts are XRP does not have a very encouraging long-term track record on its price. However, we've got to be fair. The last several years on XRP have been greatly colored by the SEC case, and its growth was stunted as a result. That SEC case has alleviated, so the bearish pressure has gone down, and in a way, because of the adoption that's been taking place since the SEC case was settled, the adoption and the usage of XRP has gone up, which means past data is colored by the fact that it was being written in a time where there were different fundamentals than there are now, and the fundamentals are undeniably more bullish than they were, which means that whatever we saw happen over the last several years, we should reasonably expect the future to be more bullish than the past. The question then comes down to about whether or not XRP is going to be able to keep up with Bitcoin. And so I highly encourage that XRP should not be the number one coin in your portfolio, not even the number two, but 3 to 10, somewhere in there is a good option. Now let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is actually starting to move here. The fundamental picture on Bitcoin right now, I believe, is much more bullish than it has been. And I want to point that out here because we've made two kind of direction calls since I came back from postpartum. Right here on Monday, kind of going back over what we've said, going back here on Monday, which was Monday, August the 26th, we said, look, Bitcoin's in an uptrend. It could go into a rally here, but I'm really not very confident in it. The next day on Tuesday, I said, nope, it's going to go into a correction. It's going to drop down to $54,000. We made that call on Tuesday, the 27th of August. Feel free to go back and watch that stream. In that stream, I called for an $8,000 drop, and I had a lot of people calling me a clickbaiter in that video. Bitcoin would go on to drop $10,000, and within 48 hours of that call, Bitcoin would drop $4,500. In totality, Bitcoin would drop over $10,000, fulfilling that projection. Over the last few days, this week, we've called this rally a fake, and we said that there were two different options here. Either one, Bitcoin was going to drop back down to $54,000, or Bitcoin was going to rally up to this downtrend and then drop back down to $54,000. The next day after we said that, things fundamentally changed, which meant that the prediction had to be updated, and the other prediction was out of date, and it was rendered null and void because something very serious had changed from the fundamental landscape, so we made a new prediction. What had changed is that the United Kingdom come out with a property rights bill around Bitcoin on later on Wednesday, and that led to a rally. So on Wednesday and Thursday, which were the last couple of days here, we've said that Bitcoin is most likely going to rally up to this downtrending level of resistance. And ever since making that call back here on September the 11th, Bitcoin has been doing that. And so right here, we went bearish. Am I going to get it right every time? No. In trying to figure out where the trend reversal is occurring, are we going to get it right every time? No. Are we getting it right pretty reasonably, pretty accurately, pretty reliably? Yes. And even if we don't get it perfectly right, then that's where you guys get to see my process and see how we learn. Now, what we're seeing now is that this call that we made over the last few days of Bitcoin rallying up to this downtrend is starting to come to fruition, because even in just the last couple of hours, Bitcoin's going through a large rally. I do think that this has something to do with the XRP, Grayscale XRP trust being announced, and also to do with the fact that the S&P 500 has gone into a major rally, also to do with the fact, and you can see the S&P 500 right now is creeping back up towards all-time high. That's a very good sign for Bitcoin. And with some bullishness coming into Bitcoin here, with good news for XRP, with good news for UK property rights, with shorts being liquidated, because the shorters have been shorting for a very long time. Right now, they're getting squeezed. I don't want to look away from the chart, but if we went over to liquidation data on CoinGlass, I can almost guarantee you that it is increasing. In fact, we should do that. Let's look at this live, because it is happening right now. Liquidations are shorts are probably being liquidated as we speak. And this is definitely, this right here is certainly giving us a lot more confidence that Bitcoin is going into that uptrend that we talked about. As we talked about earlier today, that inverse head and shoulders pattern is building the neckline. And so again, since Wednesday, we've had that bullish call. Right now, we're looking up towards at least $61,000, if not higher. And so Bitcoin is playing as much as they were about Bitcoin dropping down below 54, because we've actually seen that reversal. Again, we had our short call up there. We've had our long call here that the market is starting to go into an uptrend. And so part of the reason for that is because people are starting to shrug off the bad news. They're now starting to embrace the good news. And if we look over here at, let me pull this up really quickly here. If we look over here at liquidation data, I've got a feeling that we're having some short liquidations going on, but let's take a look as we are watching this live. And boom, yes, as we expected, there are a great degree of shorts being liquidated right now. The people that are shorting are definitely going to need a change of pants. Ever since about 11:22 this morning, which was just about 12 minutes ago or so, we've been seeing a major rally breakout on Bitcoin. And I do think it's because Bitcoin has crept up enough to start, as we said, liquidating those shorts. If we put it on the 15-minute chart, you can see in the last 15-20 minutes, we've seen over $50 million of shorts being liquidated. And so it does seem to be that this rally that we called back on Wednesday is starting to kick into high gear because those shorts that have been betting against the market are getting wrecked. That's why we called for it that Bitcoin was going to start going into a rally a couple of days ago, because the writing was on the wall that Bitcoin was going to have a go at it, and it seems that it is working. So what do we do from here? What we do from here is we need to understand that the bulls have gained momentum. And in my 7 years of charting, I can normally tell just by the way that the market's moving that when the bulls or the bears have gained momentum. Bitcoin has not moved the way that it's been moving in the last 15 minutes in months. Does that mean Bitcoin's about to go back to all-time high? No, we have a lot of room to go on that. But I have not personally seen, and I watch this market every single day professionally as my full-time job to analyze the Bitcoin market. I have not seen Bitcoin move like this in quite some time. I have not seen Bitcoin liquidate this many shorts this quickly and with this kind of character in quite some time. Jeb, that seems a little extreme. I understand that it sounds a little extreme, but what we're seeing right now is fundamentally different than what we've seen at every other point in recent memory. On the 15-minute chart, you see a consecutive series of lower highs and lower lows. Right now, again, this is why we made this call right here on this chart. Over the last couple of weeks, over the last few days, we've been seeing higher highs and higher lows, actual uptrend forming, right? The last time that we saw this kind of thing happening was back here in August. And that led us up to $64,000 and we crashed. And that may be what happens again. But at least for now, the short to medium term future, down here on the 15-minute chart, right? So the next few days or the next couple of weeks seem to be that they're going to be far more bullish than the last several months have been. So what do we do? Well, the call on Wednesday, back on September the 11th, was that Bitcoin would likely rally up towards roughly this downtrending level of resistance at $61,000. My call to you then was to maybe hold off on a trade, but if you're an investor, then now would probably be a good time to start loading up bags, because it seems like $54,000 is in the rearview mirror, at least for now. We made that call $2,000 ago, and so I hope you took that. If not, $59,500 is still a pretty solid entry for a 5 to 7 year investment, which, again, what we teach is that we should be investors before we are traders. Right? Because we want to ensure that we are securing ourselves for the long term and taking the lower risk, still very high reward play before we take the high reward, high risk play. It's just wisdom in action. So if you're an investor now or 2 days ago or 2 days from now, these are still great times to enter into a Bitcoin position for the long term, using some of that cash that you guys are able to store over on Uphold, for example, with the USD interest accounts. So if you're a trader, the question now becomes, is it time to enter into a long trade? That is a question that's hard to ascertain, because Bitcoin really started this rally and broke above this resistance at $58,600 about 20 minutes ago. We have not, we could enter into a long trade here anticipating a rally up to, because Bitcoin and the entire cryptocurrency space is still very, very much in a bearish sentiment. You are, even though in the short-term time frame, you are trading an uptrend, on the longer-term time frame, you are counter-trading the longer-term downtrend. When I'm doing trades and when I'm recommending trades or pointing out trades, I generally want you to trade with the overall market. Right now, we are not trading with the overall market. We are contra-trading the overall market, which is an overall downtrend. And so that makes it a lot harder to get the trade right. Can you do it? Yes. Does it mean that you're facing a headwind? Also, yes. Any good pilot needs to learn how to take off when conditions aren't right, but it obviously is a lot easier to take off when they are. And so whether or not you should enter into a trade right now, I think, is a personal decision. But what I will say is, if we do break out up to this downtrending level of resistance, and we break above it, then that would be a much better time to enter into a long trade. So overall, I am quite encouraged that Bitcoin will at least come up here and test $61,000. However, I'm not as confident as to whether or not Bitcoin is going to be able to break $61,000 yet. But when we get closer, then we will certainly do more analysis to try and come to that conclusion. Our two predictions have been Tuesday, August the 27th, Bitcoin's going to drop down to $54,000. Wednesday, September the 11th, our prediction was that Bitcoin was going to rally up toward this downtrending level of resistance. In the last 2.5 weeks, those have been our two, and basically only two, major predictions. And, that's what we are seeing play out now. And then, actually on Monday and Tuesday, we predicted we dropped down to 54, but then the But then the UK bill came out and changed things, so we had to update that prediction. So that's a fact. All right, let's read a little bit of chat. I really appreciate all of you for tuning in. Bob Riley said, good morning, Jeb. Good morning to you also, Bob Riley. Eric Osborne said, XRP is my top position at 15% of my crypto portfolio. Wow, you have a lot of coins. Eric, are you able to keep up with all of those? How many coins do you have? What, 15, 20? Are you able to keep up with them? Let's see. Bitcoin breaking out. Nobody cares about XRP. Yeah. Nima's in chat said Bitcoin pumping, shorts are squeezing, and they are. That's what we're seeing happen right now is a lot of shorts getting liquidated, and that is a very important fact to consider here, because when you look at something like the hourly chart, this is already the largest short liquidation that Bitcoin has seen in quite some time, going back 4 or 5 days. Even if we look at the 12-hourly chart here, the last time we saw this many shorts liquidated in a 12-hour period was the 9th of September, and I don't believe that those all happened all at once. That was a longer-term kind of trend that we were facing. And we're seeing the rally happen, as we can see right here, on Bitcoin. And so it is very encouraging, and we'll see where Bitcoin goes next. All right. I hope you guys are enjoying today's stream. If you are, make sure to go and check out none other than NordVPN, which is the most trusted VPN in any space, and they are going to help keep you safe and secure while browsing online. The reason that you should sign up for NordVPN right now, open another tab, sign up, install it, and run it at all times, is because NordVPN is going to keep you safe by keeping you invisible, rerouting your internet traffic so that it's not being open to everybody to see. You know, what's going on without a VPN is you're basically driving through the bad side of town in a really nice car, waiting for somebody to mug you. That's essentially what you're doing. When you have NordVPN on, it's almost like you built a tunnel under any part of town where somebody's going to try and hurt you, and you drive your nice car and nobody even knows you're there. You got a cloaking device on. They're going to keep you invisible by rerouting your traffic so you're literally not even exposed to hackers and thieves where they could even see your internet traffic. And they're going to keep you protected so you don't get hacked and have money stolen from you. A friend of mine on Twitter just said that he had over $20,000 hacked and stolen from him recently. It does happen. It can happen to you. You're not immune to it. So make sure you sign up for NordVPN with the link in the description box down below and get a 2-year plan with several months for free and get a 2-year plan for under $100. Massive deal going on there. All right, let's read a little bit more chat. Woohoo, let's go. Absolutely. Absolutely, let's go. Look at all the cryptos this morning, like everything is in the green except XRP, still dragging its butt in the red. Yeah, like I said, I like XRP as a project, but I do not like its price action. And I am not driven by Dogma. I am not driven by some kind of foolish loyalty or allegiance to any project. I am driven by the facts. And the facts are XRP does have a lot of adoption. The facts are it has hung around in the top 10 for, a decade. But the fact is also its trend so far is not very promising. That doesn't mean that it can't change. But at the moment, it's not the best trend that we've ever seen at all. Now, guys, I also want to let you know about Uphold. See, I am so excited to bring Uphold to you because Uphold is a different kind of company. They're not just an exchange. They're trying to build the home for everything that you do online as it relates to finance and as it relates to banking and as it relates to cryptocurrency. Here's what Uphold is doing. Right now, they are a major exchange with some of the widest ranges of cryptocurrencies of any exchange. They've got over 260 cryptocurrencies, and they are plugged into a lot of different decentralized exchanges and liquidity where they are able to pull the listings from different exchanges onto Uphold. So when you're trading on Uphold, it's not just that you're trading on Uphold, it's actually like you're trading on a platform that brings in dozens of smaller exchanges into their data, so you can actually trade any of those smaller dexes, any of those smaller projects, any of those smaller exchanges listings on Uphold, which allows you in one place to get almost any cryptocurrency way sooner than anybody else will. Normally, when a cryptocurrency lists on Uphold, you can buy it for less than half of what you could buy it for when it lists on another exchange weeks or months later. And so Uphold is an incredible place to get started building your life here in cryptocurrency. Also because for the first time, this is the first example of this in the entire cryptocurrency space, you can earn 5% APY on your USD balances. What does that mean? One of the things I recommend everybody to have is a high yield savings account and a cash account for their investments. You can keep your cash account and you can keep your high yield savings account if you want on Uphold. because you have no lockups, no monthly fees, and you're FDIC insured. Here's the problem. When you're investing in the cryptocurrency space, generally, you have to move money back and forth from a bank account if you want FDIC insurance. Well, what Uphold does is they will use FDIC insurance on your USD balance, and you get up to $2.5 million of insurance. Well, wait a minute, Jeb. I thought FDIC insurance only went up to $250K. It does, but they have a program where they will split up your USD balance into 10 separate banks, if necessary, if you have over $250,000 there, so that you get $250K FDIC insurance on each of the $250,000 chunk of money that you have with Uphold, which means that this is the only place that I know of anywhere in the world, in TradFi or in cryptocurrency, where you can get $2.5 million of FDIC insurance on a high-yield savings account. Also, the entry amount of deposits to get 5% APY on your USD balance is $1,000. For our high yield savings accounts that we've used for a long time, the entry that you have to have at least, I think, $10,000 or $15,000 in the high yield savings account to get the 5% rate. With USD interest over here on Uphold, you can get that with only $1,000 deposit, which is the lowest anywhere in any industry, because they're trying to make things that are typically much more reserved for, people that are very wealthy, available to anyone and everyone. So this cuts down on the necessity for you to do banking transfers. You don't have to transfer from a savings account to Uphold to do your dollar cost averaging and then transfer the profits out and put those profits in a bank. Instead, you can do everything in Uphold without all the transactions, without the 1.75% fee every time you do a transaction, while also having FDIC insurance and generating a lot of yield on your cash. This is an incredible product that it has not been seen anywhere else before in the cryptocurrency space, which is exactly what Uphold is known for, creating products that are unique to Uphold that you will find nowhere else, that are industry leading and help bridge the gap between traditional finance and decentralized finance. So if you've not already signed up for Uphold, you absolutely should. There's so many other reasons on top of what I just said. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and tell somebody you know about our mission to bring financial sovereignty to the masses. I want to help as many people as possible get control over their wealth, and I want you to be a part of that journey. If you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out and ask, and I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.